All right, guys, hello. So, today we are talking about how to get yourself from slumped, unmotivated to Chad-like Super Saiyan motivation. And so, this is what I do, and this is what I've been doing, because it's a constant process. You always have to be maintaining and looking at it, because just the way it is, man. And so, until you lock it in, you got to keep working on it. And so a lot of people think that it's about just focus, bro, and just, stay motivated and stay and like keep the fire alive and the vision alive. And yes, well, that's true. It's very true. Psychology is important. I think even before you look at psychology, you have to look at your physiology, right? And so that's where we're going to start. And if you go through these 5 steps, right, you're going to have energy and you're actually going to have focus. And once you take care of those, then you'll feel eager to want to actually work on the things that you want. But before you fix these things, you're always going to be fighting an uphill battle. You're always going to feel like you're just fighting against yourself. And whenever you get this under you, this energy, then everything becomes easier after that. And so these are the 5 steps to get yourself Chad-like motivation right here. And so here we go. So number 1 is you need to fix your dopamine. So dopamine, what is dopamine? Dopamine, as Andrew Huberman says, that is our motivation molecule. That is what actually drives you to do things. And in a world where dopamine is being expended at the most that it's ever been, because you have literally these addictive apps that you have, like TikTok and notifications. And so the first thing is you have to guard your dopamine no matter what, because what you allow to trigger dopamine inside your brain is how you train your brain to prioritize, right? So you can make a little prioritization list on your phone, to-do list, but your brain isn't going to believe you, because what your actions show is that you're actually just scrolling on TikTok, and because that gives you such a strong, so much of a stronger dopamine trigger, your brain deems that as important. Just like whenever you eat, just like whenever you have sex, when you do drugs, dopamine gets triggered in your brain. And so the first thing is you have to preserve your dopamine and do dopamine generating activities. And you have to know the difference between cheap dopamine, which is the instant gratification, the scrolling, and expensive dopamine, which is the valuable dopamine, the dopamine that actually gives you fulfillment. And that's long-term projects and long-term tasks. And so those are the 2 types of dopamine. So what you have to do is you have to go through whatever it is that you have in your life and start deleting apps off your phone. And if you really want to take this seriously, like remove all notifications, even gray out your phone. I have this thing on my phone where it's red. And so it's not grayed out, but it's red. And so it doesn't look that appealing, and it blocks out the blue light. And that is the number 1 step right there. The first step is just take care of your dopamine, because the way that you wake up, if you just start getting triggered by checking your emails or checking notifications, then you're already telling your brain what's important. And so managing your dopamine. Number 2 is fix your energy, right? And this is your hormones, right? Nutrition and exercise, right? So there's this thing called your thyroid, right? And all other sorts of other hormones, just like dopamine, right? Kind of lands in the same subcategory here. But you have a hormonal system, and if you're a guy, then you have testosterone, right? And if you're not sleeping right, if you're looking at your phone at night where you got blue light flashing in your face, and you're not sleeping right, your testosterone's going to be down. And when your testosterone's down, then you're not going to be motivated to do anything, right? So fixing your hormonal system is key. So if you have like thyroid issues, if you have, you know, like energy issues, you're always going to be fighting an uphill battle. And so you just really need to get rid of all the shit foods that you have. So number one is get rid of all seed oils. That's what you have to get rid of. Anything, canola, anything that's not olive oil, ghee, butter, get rid of everything. The only thing that you should eat is single ingredient organic foods. You should go check out Gary Brecka. This is the guy that healed Dana White. Dana White had a 10-year life expectancy, and he now looks incredible. And so the most important thing is that you have to look at your gene mutations as well, because we all methylate in different ways. And methylation, that's how we break down things inside of our body. And if you have to understand, it's a genetic process, and we all have that process differently inside of us, and they're genetic mutations. And so the number one thing is to invest in a genetic methylation test. That way you know what to account for and how your system functions. So know your hormones, right? And that's how you'll fix your energy and your sleep. Sometimes we think like, oh, I'm anxious, and you're just gonna fix it by thinking positive thoughts. Well, that will do some of it, but there's a neurochemistry inside of your brain that is no amount of thinking positive thoughts is going to fix it. You have to actually fix the neurochemistry in your brain and in your gut, because in your gut, that's where you create all your neurochemicals. And so you have to eat right, and you have to understand your genetics. Okay, so number 3 is now we actually fix your focus, right? And so if you fix where your intention goes for the day, right, for prolonged periods of time, then you're going to train your brain what's important. And so now remember those first two, right? Like fixing your hormones and fixing your dopamine, which is really one and the same. Now you actually feel good. The body feels good. And so you can actually go and focus now and have that laser sharp focus, the attention, right? And so now it's about training it. Because the longer that you can focus is like your sword if you were living in samurai times, right? That is your weapon. The modern day weapon is focus. The person that can focus is the most dangerous human being in existence. And so training the focus, right? So you have to train with one task, and imagine there's people that can focus deeply into a task, getting into flow state 3 to 4 hours a day. Isn't that insane? And they get so much shit done. In those 4 hours, they get more done than people do in months. Imagine if you could do that. Imagine what that would change. So now you fix your focus. And this is what you do. You prioritize, right? This is where you prioritize. And like Stephen Covey in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is you prioritize. And so you have your quadrant, right? And so you have your four pieces of the quadrant, which is unimportant, but highly urgent, right? Important and urgent, unimportant, unurgent, and important, unurgent. And so a lot of people, believe it or not, are functioning in the unimportant, urgent tasks. So imagine, that's like, you gotta go cut the grass, which is not an important task, but it's urgent because you have to go get it done, right? And so most people are running around like a chicken with their head cut off. And that's why they can't get ahead in anything. And so if you have this quadrant, then you can become more aware of where you're actually spending your time on. And so I highly recommend you read that book, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that quadrant was a big shift for me in my thinking. And so now you fix your focus, right? And then you execute, right? Because now that you know how to prioritize, now you feel good, your physiology is right, then you actually go and execute. And this is what completes the cycle. Because let's say you get to this point, right? And your body feels amazing, right? And but you haven't actually prioritized and you haven't actually executed on the priorities. Then you're not completing the cycle. And so now it's a matter of fixing the psychology. And if you never finished the psychology, actually healing the psychology, then no matter how good, you're gonna feel great, but you're gonna be an idiot that feels amazing, right? You're not gonna be of any use. And so you need to complete that. And those are the 5 steps right there. And that's how you become super Chad motivated, because you have to heal the body, heal the mind, heal the hormonal system, and then you prioritize and then you execute. And if you do those 5 things, I promise you, my friend, you're gonna be a force to be reckoned with. So, hope this video helped. And until next time, my friends, my philosophers, cheers.